Hi everyone! This week we're embroidering on paper to create this Mother's Day wall art gift. Feel free to use your own artwork for this, but I hand lettered and drew this on my iPad just for this project, and I reversed it because of the way we'll be transferring it to the front. So you'll just need to go to the link in the description and print this on the paper that you want to use for this project. Definitely use heavier weight paper such as cardstock, because if it's too thin it will tear. So I'll be putting this in an 8" by 10" picture frame, so I need to trim this paper down to that size. So I cut a 1/2 inch off the top, a 1/2 inch off the bottom, a 1/4 inch off the right, and a 1/4 inch off the left, because this paper was an 8.5 by 11 originally. So now it's trimmed down to the 8 by 10 size, and I'm just going to double check and make sure that it fits into the picture frame, because it's easiest to trim it now if it doesn't. And it fits perfectly, so now we're going to move to the next step, which is to put this up against a window with the blank side of the paper facing up. And you can see that that printed design shows through, so just take a pencil and very lightly trace over the entire design and all of the lettering. And then once you're done with that, go ahead and take that off the window. Next, I'm taking a 1/4 inch thick piece of fun foam that I got from Michael's, and we'll be poking holes through the paper, and we need something that the needle can poke into. It can't just be a hard surface, so use something like this foam. Next, you'll need a larger size needle, such as a carpet needle that has a big enough eye to fit embroidery floss through it, like this. Then I'm just going to take that paper with the design with the pencil side facing up and lay it on top of the fun foam. Then I'm going to take the needle and just start poking holes along the pencil line. Do your best to keep these as evenly spaced as possible, and the biggest tip I can give you here is to just make sure that you don't poke them too close together, because if they're too close, while you're pulling the thread, it will start to tear them. So just go through and outline the design. Then the same thing with the lettering areas. Make sure that you always have just one row of dots and don't ever double them up side by side or anything like that. Just one row for the entire word. So after finishing the lettering areas, it looked like this. And now we can move on to the flowers. So I just did them the exact same way, just one row, and again, be very careful not to place them too close together. When you're finished, you can take the paper off the foam, and it looks like this on the front and back. And now we can get started on the embroidery. So I'm going to start with this top butterfly portion. So I'm going to flip that back over so the printed side is facing up, and I'm going to take some purple embroidery floss. I'll thread the needle and cut a long length of the floss. Then I'll start here at the end, and for this part we'll just be doing a straight stitch, which is super easy. Just pull the thread until you have a little bit of a tail left, and you can tie this off however you like. This is just how I like to do it. So I left a little tail there, and then I went up through the paper and then back down that next hole, and then I'll just tie these two together to tie it off. Then I'll take the needle and I'll go up the next open hole. And then back down the next open hole. Back up, and then back down. So that's all there is to this first stitch, just going up and down through the holes and just moving forward the entire time. And I'll continue this stitch until I get to the body of the butterfly. So once you finish that, it should look like this. So now I'm just going to tie this off, and again, tie this off however you'd like, but I just like to go under that last stitch to create a loop, and then send the needle through that to create kind of a knot. And I'll repeat that a couple times until it feels secure. So under that stitch to create a loop, and then put the needle through that loop, and then pull it tight. And don't pull too tight, or else you may risk tearing some of the paper. Then I'll just trim that thread so it has just a short tail there. So now I'm going to start some pink thread to do the body of the butterfly. So I'll put that through the bottom hole and pull it until there's a short tail left, then go back up through the paper, the next hole, Then I'm going to just tie that end off, and because I had a thread end right next to it, I just tied those two together to secure it. Then I'll go up the next hole just like we're doing the straight stitch, but here's where it's going to change. This will be the back stitch. So see how I'm coming up the paper here? Well, I'm going to go back down that hole right behind it and pull that through. And then I'll jump up to the next open hole, go through that, and then on the other side I'll go backwards to that hole below it once again and pull that through. So see, this creates a stitch that is like the other stitch, but there's no gaps in between them. So now I'm going to jump up to the antenna, so I'll just go the bottom hole in the antenna, then go through the top hole in the antenna and pull it through. Then I'll skip to the top hole in the other antenna, and then the bottom hole. So it looks like this. And then I'll just tie that off using the same method, going through one of the last stitches and creating a loop and then pulling the needle through to create a knot. Repeat that a couple times, and then trim off the thread. So it looks like this. Now I'm going to do the outline in the butterfly using the back stitch once again. So pull it through so there's a short tail left, then go back through the paper, go up the next open hole, and then we'll go backwards to that hole behind it, then jump up to the next open hole, and then go through the hole behind it. Repeat this process until you've done the entire outline of the butterfly, and then tie that off and trim the tail so it should look like this on the front side. So for the lettering and the rest of this design, we'll pretty much always be using the back stitch. In the description of this video, I'll put a link to my blog post, and on that blog post, I found someone's video that's really good for showing how to do the back stitch. So if you have trouble with that at all, go check out the blog post and that video, and it should help you out. So I'm just going to continue the same process to do the lettering. For all of the words, I'll be using the back stitch. For the word moms, I used pink thread. So I just continued this until I got to the bottom part on this first part of the M, and then to go to this looped part, I'll just jump up here with the needle and pull that through. And then I'll just keep doing the back stitch until I get to the bottom of this section. So now that I've reached the bottom of this next section, I'll do the same thing and just jump up to this next part. So I'll just move up to here and pull that through. And then just continue on with the back stitch. So now I've completed the first two letters, and we'll just be jumping up to this next spot, and we'll be using this technique for the rest of the words. And really quick, I just wanted to show you what happens if you run out of thread. It's super easy to fix. Just work until you have a short tail left and then get some new thread and tie the two together. And just tie it a couple times until it's secure, and then pull out a bunch of new thread and just start working just like you were doing before. And finally, to do the S, we'll just jump to the end of the S and then fill the rest in, and this is how it looks when it's done. And I just tied that off on the end just like before. Then I repeated the same process to do the words encourage us, but I used purple thread for this. Next, I'll do the words to bloom using blue. And then I went ahead and filled in those leaves and stems of the flowers using green, using the same technique, and now we'll just be doing the outlines of the flowers. So at this point, it looks like this. And I just used the back stitch to outline all of these. And on the center of this last flower here, I did the back stitch to create a circle, and then I just did some single stitches to do those straight line areas. Then finally, to do the center of this flower, I'm just going to do some straight stitches which all go back into that very center hole. So when I was finished with that, it looked like this. And here is the entire design done. So now all that's left is to put it into the picture frame. It looks like this on the back. You can cut these tails shorter if you'd like, or you can just leave them and make sure that they don't show in the picture frame. So I'm going to take the picture frame and take the back out of it, and then just place this inside face down. Put the back on, and then bend those little metal pieces down to hold it in place. And that's it! Now you've created a beautiful handmade gift for your mom for Mother's Day. I hope you've enjoyed this paper embroidery tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more Mother's Day videos from my channel, I will put them on screen on the right side. Feel free to subscribe for future videos. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.